Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live edition of Queen Bee Live. Yes, presented by Selma AIR and the Monte Method. My name is Lydia Chapman, and I am so excited to have Monte Hammond with us today. Y'all, he pushing through. I'm telling you, he is pushing through to be here with us. Not really feeling his best, but we're going to make the best of it. So, Monte, welcome. Kim, welcome. Yes, and we have a very special guest this evening, Miss Shnell Nevins. So, Monte, I know you want to say something. I know you're not, yeah, say something to the people.
Let it use something else. Listen, welcome to Queen Bee. Today is not a great day for the Monte Method, but it's a great day to be alive.
Yes.
But those of you, I'm sure, our constant viewers, you all know what Queen Bee is. It's just a platform for us to bring women together to talk about their sexual health and the overall well-being of a woman. And so we are here, and fellas, we don't kick you out because clearly I have an Adam's apple and a prostate. And so, fellas, we will not bore you. But women, we do highly recommend you, and we want you to like, tag, and share. Phone somebody, text somebody, tag somebody, and let them know that Queen Bee is now live. And we are here with Miss Shnell. This month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Correct me if I'm wrong or right. Lydia's nodding her head.
Yes.
And so we just wanted to share some insight and some light, and just kind of talk about domestic violence and domestic violence abuse. Is one of those things that's very silent and that people are kind of ashamed to talk about. And so we're hoping that today we enlighten someone and we push someone to share their story so that your story can help somebody else. And we have a very special guest, Ms. Shnell, and I'll let Lydia tell you a little bit more about her. And Lydia may want her to tell you about her, tell you about herself. And then let also not forget my girl, my cousin, my friend, my sister, my auntie, my everything, Kim Moon, who is a part of this Queen Bee family. Kim also has her very own platform. And Kim, you can tell us what the name of that is, so I don't want to mess it up.
Positively Beautiful.
That's right.
Positively Beautiful. That's
and
me.
Positively Beautiful is.
It's not about being positive, meaning HIV positive. It's not about being beautiful, but it's about being whole. And it's to help women be whole within themselves. That's how we can help the women who are involved in domestic violence get out of it. Because once you learn to love yourself, boo, you know how to walk.
Right. So all these things tie into each other, and so all together with Selma AIR, the Monte Method, and Positively Beautiful, we got something going. And so we're just glad that everyone is here to share with us. And so Lydia, I'll put it back in your hands.
Absolutely. Again, thank you to our very special guest, Miss Shnell Nevins. She is a licensed social worker, y'all, but it's not about her title. It's about who she is, what she brings to the table. Miss Nevins is an amazing young lady I have the privilege of working with. She is my colleague at Selma AIR. She's one of our wellness navigators with our brand new program called She's Ready, and she is ready. You hear me? So I do want to give Shnell a moment just to kind of share with the people who you are, what you do, because it's not just the Selma Air work that you do, but just share with the people who you are, and then we can dive straight on into the conversation.
Okay, my name is Shnell Nevins. I am a licensed master social worker, but that's the less of who I am.
Yes.
I'm a person that loves to see growth in our community. The only way that we can have growth is through knowledge. We have to put programs out into the community that brings about knowledge to our people so that we can actually live healthy lives, healthy meaning mind, body, and soul. And so we get programs together now that She's Ready is a program that's going to be geared towards African American women. We face so many battles every day that we have to start addressing in the community as a whole. So she's ready. Lydia's ready. I'm ready. Are you ready to be a part of the growth that we can see as Black women? That means financially, spiritually, mentally, all the things that we have felt that we have lacked or been less than, we can fulfill those just by gaining an inch of knowledge on things that we feel that we're not knowledgeable about. So when I thought about this, when Lydia asked me to do domestic violence, it was something that was dear to me because I worked in a shelter for 7 years. And I was the person that was unknowledgeable about, I did not have the correct knowledge about domestic violence. I actually went to the shelter as a part-time job to get a piece of ink, a little extra income coming in. It was not to feel the way that I left feeling, which was enough people are not educated, because the question that we always want to know is, why didn't she leave? Why did she stay? Who is this person? I would never go through this, or I would have never done that. And it's victim shaming. And we as a community are very, very high on victim shaming. And so to bring it all together to how we know that we are, yesterday when Lydia's, and this is a very me moment, because even in all of my training and knowledge that I've gained, master's, license, everything, we're still human. So when Lydia sent me the flyer, I was excited. And then I started to look at it. And I called one of my good friends. I forwarded it to her. I was like, girl, do you think people think I'm going to be a domestic violence victim? In that moment. So you think about how an actual victim feels shame for being a victim if I'm not a victim and I internalized it just that fast. Right. So we unknowingly and unwillingly do things to people that we don't even understand. But that was the first thing. It's like this great moment for me to have a platform to share knowledge with people. And the first, I was like, they got my picture over here like a survivor. And I was like, oh my God. And so we have to realize, if, like I said, of me, with the knowledge that I have in working 7 years in this area, automatically felt like I would be shamed for being something that I'm not. Just imagine how people feel for being something that they are. So that's where I want to lead into, the conversation with, we cannot victim shame. We have to get the understanding of what domestic violence is, how it plagues our community, just from the victims to the children to everybody that's involved. So let's talk about it.
I have a question, because when we think about domestic violence, we think about normally just the physical abuse aspect of domestic violence. So just kind of share with us some of the other aspects of what domestic violence is, because from my past knowledge of domestic violence, it's not something that's just physical abuse. So just kind of share with us what all domestic violence,
domestic violence, it's a totality of situations, financial. So when you ask why she can't leave, she hasn't worked. She's held down a household, and her 2 kids, they have nowhere to go. She has no access to money. So now you have financially abused her, emotionally, to the fact that you tell her so many times that nobody else wants her. She's undesirable to people. So now you have taken her self-esteem away, and she does, where else would she go? Nobody else wants her. So you've emotionally abused her. Mentally, just the beat down of constantly every day. Physical abuse, the scars and all of that stuff usually heal within time, but it's that emotional, the mental abuse that people carry on, not just even when they leave that relationship, carried on to other relationships, because we become so unhealthy, because domestic violence is unhealthy altogether. So you have so many different dynamics of it. When you look at people that will isolation is a form of domestic violence. When you don't have any friends, they don't like you, your family isn't for us, and before you know it, you find yourself in a situation, it's just you and him. So who do you go to? Because you've already isolated yourself from, he's already isolated you, and you don't even realize that it's happening, because it's, don't hang around those girls, they are known as this, your family and your mama, they're not for us, this. So you've isolated yourself in this box, it's just you, and now you're being abused, and you have nobody to reach out to, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom, you don't work, You don't have any friends, so you literally depend on this person, sometimes not just financially, but for your emotional support as well. And this is your abuser.
Right.
So now I would like to know because in a program that I was a part of last week that Selma AIR hosted, it was actually a live event. There was a question around women having, or let me go back. Can men and women be victims of intimate partner violence? Because typically, I know that we think of and think about Lifetime movies. The people who are being abused are women, but can men be abused?
Yes.
Okay.
And 1 in 25 men are victims of domestic violence. And I would probably say that number is higher. The reason I
Wow.
say that is because men are less likely to report because of the shaming factor. But like we said, because there are so many elements to domestic violence, it's not just the abuse. You can have people that are upstanding people in the community, such as police officers, judges, lawyers. Those people are usually blackmailed into domestic violence. As if I call your supervisor, if I call the police over here, you're going to lose your job. If you're a police officer, and your job is to carry a weapon and you get a DV charge, you've automatically lost your job because you can't do your job anymore. So there are so many ways that you can become a victim without actually a person putting their hands on you. And that's where usually it comes in with the men. And sometimes women do physically abuse men, and because of the man they are, it feels like, oh, she's beating him up. But he knows that if he hits her, the moment he hits her, that
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be the end of it for him. So he allows this abuse to continue. So he comes home, she slaps him, she does this, but he knows his physical capabilities as well as she does. So she's just waiting to push that one lever that's going to send him over the top. Most men hopefully get out before it gets that far, but some don't. And so that's why we always have to look at the totality of situations when we look into as far as domestic violence goes, because there's always his side, her side, and the actual truth.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was crazy because I've been watching all of this stuff. And if you watch the Betty Broderick movie, everybody kind of knew that back in the 90s. That's
Right.
kind of what it was led to. You can only push a person so far. And it's never an excuse for domestic violence. There's no excuse for domestic violence. But if you watch, I watched that movie probably 20 years ago and watch it now, and I see two different things in it because of the knowledge that you gain from learning the different signs, and you kind of see where she was, where he was, because you won't look at it the same once you're knowledgeable in domestic violence. Because it's just like the lady that gets beat all of her life, and finally he comes home one day and she kills him. Everybody's looking at that one action, but we
Mm-hmm.
never think about what led up to it. The person that calls 911, nobody's giving you any help. Some people actually feel hopeless in domestic violence because they've reached out to everybody. They've tried to get help. And guess what? What we always know is that a restraining order is a piece of paper.
You're right.
That sometimes do not fear anybody. Nobody fears it. It don't
Nobody
scare
fears it.
anybody. And the one thing that I found out though, that especially in intimate partner violence, it starts with a manipulation tactic. Most men that do abuse women, they or and vice versa, they believe first that I first have to make sure I can get control of her, because the woman that they know they can't, she's gonna leave or she's gonna call the
Mm-hmm.
police at the first hit. You know what I'm saying? The rest of them, they're gonna do it. In all honesty, I've been there. I was what I guess 17 up to about 21. I dated a guy that literally beat my tail. And then even after I broke up with him, he did the same thing. And I remember I broke up with him. I was going on a date. I went on a date with a DJ, and we went to Leeds, Alabama to a club because he had to work. And I'm dancing on the floor. And while I'm dancing, he was like, Kim Moon, you wanted at the door. Who is that? I'm on the dance floor, like, I don't know. But I get to the door. Time I get to the door, I tell the people, I'm Kim Moon. And he step around that corner with a gun to my head and snatch me out that door. And so here I am. I don't know what's going to stop him from killing me. But then they knew I came with the DJ. So he comes with all the the club, the biggest men in the club, the bouncers, the all of this, and they all standing around us. By now, he done drugged me in his car, and there's a gun, 5 guns around him, well, us, and then one on my head. And one of the guys said, "Hey, look, I have no dog in this fight, but if you kill her,
I'm gonna have to.
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah,
If you shoot her, she may or may not die. You're going to, cause 5 bullets going into you, if not more."
yeah.
And literally, that is how I got out. But I used to have to get the police to go home. If I went out, if I went to the club, I had to go and get the police to search my house first, because I remember coming home, walking in the door. You know how you know your house? You don't have to get the lights on to go to bed. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So I walk in, I could turn slightly to the right and then to the left, and I'm going up steps. I just remember somebody grabbing me by my hair, dragging me down the steps. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what's happening. It's him beating my tail. And then I remember coming home, taking the police, but he saw us at the window, so he took off to run out the back door. My back door open. I come home, my purse is gone. I paid for so many windows because he would break them. But it was a manipulation tactic. I was young, I didn't know any better, and I dealt with it for a very long time. Hence why now I meet a man, your butt is being interviewed. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know you being interviewed. And if you got an inkling of something that I don't like, I'm out. I will never be that weak chick again. Not if I can help it.
So Kim, let me ask, and Chanel, Monte, y'all, what are the red flags? I know that we have seen this thing. I know in our community, we've seen these red flags going all over the place with like warning signs, right? Are there red flags that we can look at? Like now that you think about that relationship, Kim, are there things that you should have paid attention to?
I think so. I
Okay.
think so. I met a guy, and when I met this guy, he was, I'm young, he's young. We had a good connection, so I thought we talked well. We did all these things, but guess what? He was saying stuff that shouldn't have been being said, not in the beginning. And I should have paid attention, but I didn't. You know what? So now as an adult, when I meet a
Mm-hmm.
person, if he seems needy, if he seemed like this is the God heaven truth, God forbid, I just met a man. We talked Friday for a bunch of hours, and he said things that scared me. So really, I almost don't answer his call now, because he said stuff like, uh, "So what's this with us talking for 3 hours?" I said, "Nothing. We just like to talk." You know what I'm saying? Okay, light bulb. Then it was text me good morning, and then time I text good morning back. You call me light bulb. I know that don't sound like lot. In fact, a lot of women like that.
No, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That is needy. Then we on the phone, and he says, "What you doing? Watching TV, watching, catching up on my shows because I watched no shows this week." Okay, what you like? I like SWAT. I like Law and Order. I like all that type of stuff. Oh, I do too. And then I said, well, I'm that person that I listen to TV more than I watch it. I
Mm-hmm.
said, but I listen to it and I can follow that way. And he said, I do too when I'm sleepy. And then he said, sometimes I sleep with, he said, I sleep with the TV on. I have to have total silence and complete darkness. You know what his response was? I guess I need to practice, don't I? Who said I was coming to your house and going to sleep? Why you got to practice sleeping in the dark? I think all of those are signs. And
Yeah.
what I think
Especially
is
early
this,
on.
yes,
especially.
but
Yeah,
what I
because
think is this: he probably never had intentions. Not him, because I just almost don't answer the call. But this guy back in the old days, he probably never had intentions of being abusive. But because I kept dating you and you kept expecting things of me that I wasn't willing to give, your temper took you to that. And so, like me, if I keep talking to this man, that scares me, because this is day 2 and you're saying these things. I pay attention to your conversation, and because of my past, I just can't take no chances, because I've been through too much to have to deal with a psycho that I can't get to go home, that's following me, that won't, you know what? I can't do that. And then after, either he gets embarrassed because I'm ignoring him, or he's following me or showing up where I'm at, then I got to get my butt beat. Okay, I'm not
I
doing
was
that.
at I was
Yeah.
at an event this weekend, and there was a young lady there. The question in the room was, what areas do you need to work on in order to succeed in your business? What are some things you should let go of? And so everybody was saying stuff like, I need to let go of just being lazy. I need to work on my time management. And then it got around to this one girl, and she said, I need to let go of my relationship.
Wow.
I was like, oh, that's
Wow.
interesting. And so she started saying
Mhm.
that the guy won't let her work. Um, he won't allow her to wear makeup. She had on eyelashes, and she was like, before I get back home, I have to take these off. Like I snuck,
Wow.
was sneaking out. I snuck these in my purse and put them on when I got in the car. Like he doesn't want her to do anything that's going to make her look good. He does not know that she
You're
has
appealing to
a
somebody else when he ought to be proud. Somebody looking at what you got.
right. He
Right.
does not know that she has a online jewelry business. Like she hides everything from him,
Right.
and he manipulates her with her kids. Like she said that her kids that night was at his other baby mama's house, and I'm just thinking in my head the abuse that this man
You
is
are
going to you
right.
emotionally,
Yes.
Yeah.
just
Yes. Because again, it starts to me the mental state and the
Mhm.
manipulation and the emotionally, it starts there. And then once they maybe don't get what they want, or maybe they do and realize I can beat her tail and she ain't gonna do nothing. I'm
yeah.
good. I'm good. This is who I want right here. So I'm skeptical about that. Like the guy, you get off work at 5 and my phone is ringing at 5:04. No, no.
Yeah.
This is day 2, day 3. No,
So
no.
Chanel, what do you think are some warning signs uh, from someone who's worked in this profession? What are some things that you've seen, or some insight that you can give us on red flags?
When I seen the red flags initially, I was like, and Denise will tell you this story, Lydia. I was like, our community, we can't take anything serious. We cannot play about these red flags. And then I was like, and I saw what I said, but I came okay because I seen Lydia post the red flags. So I was like, we must be good. But the red flags are there. The signs are always there. Whether we choose to ignore them or not, they are there. The jealousy that most women will think of as being, oh, he's so into me. He don't want other people talking
They
to
think it's
me.
cute.
He don't want me to look nice. And it's those things that come off to you as him caring about you, but it's starting that small pattern of him controlling you.
Right.
And so, especially when it's especially when you're younger, that type of stuff to a lot of people is really like, girl, he called me 10 times a day. He always got to know where I am. No, he doesn't. That
Right.
is a control factor
Right.
that you're being manipulated into thinking that it's love. And
Right.
so you have those people that before they know it, it's out of control because it started out, call me when you get to work. Oh, baby, did you make it to work? Now it's call me before you go to the bathroom at work. And it just progressively gets worse. In
Right.
most cases, not all cases, but probably about 90% of the cases, you never have a man that goes from 0 to 100, meaning
Oh,
he doesn't come home one day and decide to kill you.
it's a slow
The
progression.
signs the signs have been there. It has been a build up from him
Yes.
because the thing about it is most it's not so much of beating a person to feel strong. It's about control. It's
Right.
just like with rape. Most rapists don't rape for sexual gratification. They rape for control. And
Right.
so he doesn't spiral out of control to that point of hurting himself or hurting you until he feels he's lost that control.
That
As
yes.
long as he is in control, he doesn't care how miserable you are. That's why when women leave or they are planning to leave, that is the most dangerous time in a domestic violence relationship that you will ever be in. Because at that point, your perpetrator knows that he has lost control.
Right.
And so when you are planning to leave or you're gone, they will literally hunt you down and kill you. It is so dangerous. You have to, and some of the questions that people are asking, I know you asked me about the red flag, but I want to touch on this for a second,
Okay.
Absolutely.
because we'll always be asked, like, what do we do for our friends if we know somebody's in a domestic violence relationship?
Right.
You need to tell them to seek professional help. You cannot help them. In domestic situations, usually people that get killed are innocent people.
Right.
It's very hard for you to tell your girlfriend no, she can't come to your house, but it's also very dangerous for you and your children or whoever lives with you to allow that. You need to help her get into shelter. Get people the actual literature that they need. Get them phone numbers and things. Help them go to the police department. But just playing the hey girl, just leave him, because it's deeper than that. You
That's what I was
cannot.
about to say. Like for me, I remember my family knew it. No, that ain't my phone. Right. My family knew it, and they wanted me out, and to a certain extent I wanted out, but I didn't get out. And I remember being at my mom's, and she wasn't home, and he had been looking for me, but he didn't know where I was at. And he knocked on the door, and time I opened the door, he just snatched me out the door, started beating me, but my mom pulled up. When she pulled up, now the neighbor had already called the police because they heard me out there screaming. My mom pulled up, she get out the car, and she picked up a hoe, like a rate like hoe,
Mm-hmm.
was swinging it. And so the police came. Of course, they took her downtown. They didn't arrest her, they took her downtown because they can't see somebody physically beating on somebody. They didn't see him beating on me because by then she got there and she was handling it. But it was crazy. So it was difficult. It was very difficult to get out. Very.
So Chanel, you talked about um the things that we should look for, and you started to lead into how to get out, like making sure that if a friend discloses that he or she is being abused, to encourage them to seek professional help.
Mhm.
How would you suggest then, though, folks who have viewed violence or abuse, whether it is mental, financial, or physical, as a way of life, like it's a generational thing? Um, what happens, or how can we help folks who see it as normal?
And guess what? Most of it is generational, because it's something that they've seen their parents go through, their grandparents go through. Many don't just get into that situation unknowingly. It's something that is considered love. So those people are going to be the hardest to convince. But what you cannot do at any point is put them in a position to where you make them choose. Because if you lose contact with that person, if they stop telling you and stop talking to you about things, then you have no idea what's going on. So
Right.
if Lydia, you are always calling me, leave him, leave him, leave him, he's no good for you, and I'm not ready to receive that, what you've done now is you've shut me off. So the next time, because if I'm confiding in you, and you're probably the only person, because most people in those situations are not confiding in a lot of people. So if you're my confidant, you've just lost me. So now you have me literally where he told me I was going to be, which was by myself.
Mm.
Because most of us don't want to get family involved, because you're putting people in a situation. It's hard. When I remember working at the shelter, and a girl came and she was literally beat bloody. And she was like, I couldn't let my dad see me this way. It's not that I didn't have family, I don't have anywhere to go, but I know my father would have killed him if he
Mm-hmm.
saw me.
Right.
So you have people that are trying to keep family members and people that they know will, go out and quote unquote handle the situation for them, because then you put them in a legal battle, or they can end up getting hurt as well. You don't know what the person's potential is. So what I would always tell people is, with your family or whoever that comes to you, always leave that door open. Don't ever make them feel bad for staying. Just let them know I'm here, because the best thing to do, listen more, speak less.
Right.
Be
Right.
mindful of your reactions. So you, like when we were sitting there, if you'll watch all of our faces when people are telling their stories, we sometimes are like, oh my God, you can't
Yeah.
do that, because it sends them into another shot. Do not judge. Use phrases such as, if I was you, I would, because I'm not you and our situations are not the same.
Right. And
Mm.
to say, to constantly say leave, and
Mhm.
you're saying you can go here or you can go there. Well, you know, in your mind, I left and he came and beat me and drug me back.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so you telling me to leave, that's not a solution, not for me.
Mm-mm.
That's not a solution, because he gonna come get me. So why go and take that beating for leaving when I can just stay?
Yeah. Be patient. You
Yeah.
have to be patient with the
Okay.
person. People will make decisions on their own time.
Right.
And the most important thing that I think, even if we're not even talking about domestic violence, if we're talking about life in general, ask permission to give advice.
Right.
Because sometimes I'm not looking for your advice. I'm looking to vent to you. I'm in a bad place. I'm just wanting to tell somebody something. I'm not ready for your advice.
Right.
So ask for permission. Know what that relationship looks like. Know what it feels like. At that point, when they get to the point to they say, you know what, Miss Lydia, I'm had enough. I'm leaving. Hope you can't just run. Get your things in order. Start packing that bag slowly. Make sure you have things like your birth certificates and things that you'll need.
Mm.
Because once you leave, you have to remember you'll probably never go back if that's your
Right.
plan. So start if you have kids, when you're packing their little school bags, put an outfit into the side of the bag, put that stuff in your trunk. Have you a safe place, so when it's over and you leave, because we have people that are coming that came into the shelter that literally only had the clothes on their backs.
My
You
Lord.
know you're starting over, but sometimes starting over doesn't have to mean starting from scratch. Starting over can just mean starting a new life for yourself. And if you've gotten to a point to where you have done something, some type of pre-preparation, when some people will tell people to steal money, be very mindful of giving bad advice to your friends.
Right.
Moving money, and instead of going to get your hair braided with the money he gave you, go get a cheaper style to where you're actually stashing your own money. Do that. Do not let an abuser think that you are hiding money from him. Do not let
Yeah.
them think that you are taking stuff and stealing from the household. So instead of you getting the $200 hair, you go get the $40 hair. You put the other 160 somewhere else because you're planning your getaway. But you cannot
Mm-hmm.
go into your bank account and start moving around money if he has access to that bank account, because it's going to send off red flags for him, and it's going to make your leave so much harder.
Right.
So just when if leaving is what you've planned to do, make sure that you have already put things in place. You don't want to go to the daycare and your kids are already gone because you've done a sloppy move.
Right.
You can't share those plans with everybody, because you will even have family members who's like, she don't
Who
need
would
to
tell
leave him,
you?
he's a good man, he's a
Mm-hmm.
provider. Because guess what, they are so used to dysfunction. And your granddaddy was this way, and he could have had this going on, but he provided. And so those are things that you have to be ready for. And
Right.
that's why people need to seek advice from people that are the professional nature. You can have somebody that you can lean on, but get professional help so you'll know what path you need to take. They'll help you plan a treatment plan, whatever you need in order to get to that space to when you walk away, you're walking into something of your own and you're able to maintain. Because most people, I can't tell somebody, and I've seen it a million times at the shelter. You come in, it's you and your 3 kids. Y'all have lived in a big home, nice home, had everything. Your kids had their own room.
That's
And
an adjustment.
I am putting you in one room and y'all all are there together. It's hard to tell that person to leave everything they know and for them and their kids to go and stay in this one room where they share a bathroom with people that they don't know. It's
Mm.
not easy to just leave. Stop telling victims to just leave and get educated and understand why some people stay and get them educated on how they can leave.
Right. Right.
This is this is good. I'm single. Thank God I haven't been in that situation. But you finna make me go pack a bag and put it in my car for storage.
Listen, in case of emergency.
Jesus.
You
You know,
know,
some of us, and we ain't talking about the spend the night bag. Now, don't go thinking we
not the
talking
whole
about the
That
bag.
spend
ain't
the
no
Right.
night bag.
bag. Yeah,
Right.
I don't know about the clock. That's a whole bag.
That's the
Yeah,
whole bag,
I ain't
right?
want to say, I was gonna hold integrity in and not call it what it was.
It's all right.
I got one
We're
Listen,
in
actually
my
talking
car.
about if you're planning on, it's literally like going into the trenches because you don't know if he's gonna follow you somewhere, and then the shelter's gonna have to move you to another location because he found out where you were staying. If he's coming up to your job, you're gonna have to relocate to a different job site. So now you don't have clothes because you're in a different element. So you like literally start, if you know that that's who you are and you have some other signs, drug abuse and substance abuse.
Right.
Never an excuse. So I
Right.
don't like to hear, I don't like, but it's not me when women say, oh, he was drunk. No, he was who he was. He just got a little stronger that night because he was drunk.
Uh-huh.
But he
Uh-huh.
beats you even during the week when he's not, when he's sober. But
Right.
usually when alcohol and drugs are involved, it makes for a worse night for a victim because they're already on their
Just hiding
their
it,
drunk
hiding
high, whatever
whatever
they
you
got
got
going on.
going
So
on.
it exacerbates them into that thing. And what we think about too is they try to take away a man or a woman because it's either way self-esteem. It's because they have low self-esteem. You can't think
Yes.
highly of yourself if you do this to another person. So you're trying to get me where you are because your self-esteem is low. That's why you don't like for me to have on makeup. That's why you don't like for me to wear certain clothes, because you feel like somebody more worthy than you is going to come along and acknowledge me for who I am.
Right.
So if they do that, then you lose because you don't believe in yourself. And that's where that jealousy and
Hence
all
why
of
they
that,
don't want you to have friends, because if
that's
you
why they
talking
don't
to
want you to have
somebody,
friends in your
yeah, they might
circle.
give you some information that he don't want you to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
And
now
then, you
this
know,
this issue, I know that our audience is truly enjoying y'all. If you feel like this is good information, we do want to definitely make sure that you're sharing this. So take a moment while we're talking to share on your social media pages. You can pick up the link and email it out to people. You can text it out to people. What we want to do, and we said this coming in, we want to make room for the work, right? Not the work that pays us, but the work, the heart work, right? We want
mhm,
to show reverence for the power that can give people the strength to walk away when it's time to seek the help that they need. So we do want to just take a moment to kind of deep breathe, share this information because this is a very heavy topic, y'all.
Right.
It's a topic that I know I don't ever look forward to talking about. My mom, I think, is single because of some things that we suspect my grandfather did to my grandmother,
Right.
to my birth grandmother, because the grandmother that I grew up with, I saw the language, right? You hear the
mhm.
harshness, and as a child, didn't realize what was happening. But when I replay those scenes as an adult, I'm like, yo, what is going on? And it is a part of the reason why, like you said, you interview the gentleman that you date, Kim,
Yeah.
or could potentially date. That's a
Right.
part of my process, the conversation. The one thing we can talk about money, we can talk about infidelity, but the one thing we will never talk about is you
Right.
putting your hands on me.
Mhm.
Because
Right.
the moment you put your hands on me is the moment that I'm like, I just don't even, I think I would just black out. Like, because it is just, seriously, like I
Well, I
have
think so for me
seen.
now,
Mhm,
what you've done that before, it's like, oh no, baby, none of
right.
that.
And I
So
think it's important too to set those, don't be afraid. Like when you start dating people
Boundaries.
and boundaries are just not
Yep.
set, and we are so afraid to set boundaries because we might like this person, and when you start telling them things that you don't like, then all of a sudden you become this whatever they want to put in between the parentheses. But we have to set boundaries, and I'm one for myself that's actually learning other boundaries, because there are more boundaries than just domestic violence
Right.
boundaries in
I set them
relationships,
all the
period.
time.
Yes, for help to
Right.
be healthy, to be mentally healthy, we have to be able to set boundaries, because in our, like, we want to, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but our community lacks boundaries, and that's why we are in some of the situations that we're in, whether it's with our children, school systems, law enforcement. We have not set the boundaries that are going to allow us to grow as people. So we have to start setting boundaries with people, and that does not mean we wait until we, after we sleep together, we, hey, no, these are the
First
boundaries. Like
conversation we
date
having
night, we
for
gonna
dinner.
have date night with boundaries. We really have to start doing that, because guess what? We got to think about HIV and AIDS. We cannot
Hello.
not allow people to set those boundaries for us anymore.
Right.
But
And so,
it ain't just about it ain't just them kind of boundaries. Like so yesterday I had met somebody and we've been talking on the phone and stuff, and yesterday that person raised their voice at me.
Yeah. Like,
Let me
yeah.
stop you right here. Hold please. What you're not gonna do is raise your voice at me. Don't let me
and
remind
those
you
are
again.
legitimate boundaries to tell
Yep.
people, like, hey, I don't like people to scream at me.
Don't holler
I
at
don't
me.
like, and I, because I'm one of those people, I cannot stand to be screamed at. It's like, I'm probably gonna be crying, but I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because I'm like 2 seconds from becoming a perpetrator, and you got
Yes.
to take me there and make me lose my license. I don't like to be screamed at. So
Right.
that's something that you should communicate to somebody,
Yep.
because guess what? That could be the only communication that they know how. And the
Mm-hmm.
last person that they dated, the last 3 people that they dated, that communication could have been okay for that set. But you have to set your own boundaries, that no, this is not okay for me. I can't, I
Mm-mm.
don't do DV
This.
type voice
Mm-hmm.
screaming, all of this stuff.
Right.
And
But
I'm
we
talking we
don't.
2 weeks in. You
Yeah.
don't holler at me.
Yeah, yeah, we too early for you.
Don't talk to me like that.
It's like
Right.
some of
Auntie, you
those signs
sound
that
like
when
me,
you
right?
see them that early, and not that, time has a it does play an effect, because sometimes you can get so far into something, it's like, oh, I've invested so much time in this, I hate to backpedal out of it. But like in those first couple of weeks, when you already see stuff that you know you can't deal with, just go ahead and leave it alone.
Yep.
That's why I'm like I am. And like I had a friend, she's like, you so hard on a person. No, there are some non-negotiables. When you get to be over 50, 55 is just too old to be negotiating how I want to be treated.
Right.
I don't have to train you. I shouldn't have to train you. In fact, I should, like she's saying, well, why don't you just tell him you don't like that type of thing? Why? Because that's who he is.
Mm-hmm.
That's who he is.
Right.
And the reason why I know it's who he is, he told me the last relationship he had, he dated her for 3 months. And then she said, I don't think we can move forward. But guess what? It was because he also said she went on a girls' trip. He like, okay, so we talking while you gone. Yeah, we'll talk, but they didn't. And he was calling and texting her and she didn't respond. Okay, then he like, I'm gonna see if she was gonna call me back. She didn't call me. Then she told me she liked traveling out the country. I ain't been out the country. I went and got my passport. 3 months? No, I know you think that's cute. It's not. That
Right.
It's
is
like the making of a
scary.
Lifetime movie. Like,
Yes.
we go out the country and you come back and I
And I
don't
don't come
know.
back.
Yeah, it's like no. But I think,
No.
it is, and I understand what you're saying about, you know, that's how people are, but some people actually don't want to be that way. It's just been accepted for so long, and they don't know better.
But
Now,
it's not
once you
my
tell
job to
them,
stop you. You
it's
get what I'm
not. But
saying?
I think that once you tell them, you watch the next couple of interactions you have with them, because they could really respect those boundaries.
Because you know what? When I tell him, I ain't talking no more. I ain't even told him yet, but I'm being honest. You're
She just
talking to
throw the
somebody
whole
who's
number
been through
away.
a lot. You get what I'm saying? I done had that dude. I done had the rape. I can't. No,
Yeah.
I am not doing that. No,
But
Lord.
that's a part of your boundaries, and go with it. For everything is,
Yes,
and that's what we have to realize as friends, as sisters, as uncles, brothers, or whatever we do, we have to realize our roles are different in people's lives, and we have to know what our roles are when we when we come to them with these situations.
And here's
When
the
we
deal.
come
You
to,
know,
because I can literally, I've been in a room and I really have friends who will attest to that. And I'll tell them they got a DV situation going on. And they're sitting there and there's nothing going on because I can read the body language.
wow.
And
Right.
I've called and I've said that
I'm
to
that
people
way too.
before, and something has happened. They be like, how'd you know that? Because I can tell an abuser from a mile away. I've heard 5,000 stories about different abusers, and none of them look the same. None of them job
Mm,
capacity is the same. You know, they're all different. Their methodical way of doing it is different. But I can look at her face. I've been in Walmart before and giving people cards to the Sunshine Center because I knew that they were victims,
right.
that scared look in their eyes. Sometimes pay attention to people that you work with. But the thing about it is, you don't always have that pass. So sometimes it's as simple as, maybe I can't come to Miss Lydia, but when I go outside to lunch today, I'm gonna put this card on her windshield wiper. She's not gonna know where it comes from, but I just want her to know that there is help out there, because we
Hmm.
cannot insert ourselves into places that we're not invited. Because
Right.
at that point, we're shutting people down, and you do not want to ever shut your friends or your family members out, because you don't know what they're going through. You
Right.
don't know that you being the only person they would talk to, now you have isolated them so much that you do have people that will commit suicide. It's
That
so
very
many
well
other
might.
elements of it that we have to be careful. Then stop being the judger of the situation and be the supporter. And by support, that means whatever role I tell you to be, not what role you choose to be in.
Right.
Because I can just tell
So,
you, okay.
no, I just want to ask Chanel, because we've spent a significant amount of time talking about the warning signs, what characteristics abusers, and you said that they all look different.
Mhm.
So I want to take it from a different angle. Um, is there room for restoration if you are a perpetrator?
Yes. I think that people can. I've seen people go through counseling, because what you have to realize, hurt people hurt people. That's
Right.
been cliches that we've said for years, but it's actually the truth. So if they've never learned how to love, I can't teach you how to love, but I can teach you coping skills. I can teach you, when you come home and Lydia hasn't washed the dishes, that you don't do the same thing to her that your mom did to your dad, because
Anger
it wasn't
management. Yeah.
that wasn't the way it was supposed to go. So most people just need to actually go through some type of counseling. That doesn't mean, when, like, I'll see ladies leave shelter and say, we're going to counseling. It's fine if y'all go to counseling later, but the person who he needs or she needs counseling. That means to deal with self first, because
Right.
before we can deal with us, we both have to have whatever we have going on dealt with. So
Mm,
going to marital counseling with an abuser is not something that is going to help you, because he needs something that you can't give to
something
him,
different.
which is to
Actually,
find
both
himself
of
in
them
you. He
need
can't find
something
himself in
different.
you.
Yeah, both
Right.
of them actually need something different. She
Different.
needs to go to counseling, like self-worth,
Healing and self,
self-love. You
yes.
know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
She needs to be healed in a different way from the way he does. He probably,
Mm-hmm.
because your vantage point determines your viewpoint, meaning how
That's
you were raised,
absolutely
what you
correct.
were taught, all of those things. And so you need to go, but he need to go separately. And
Mm-hmm.
then maybe you all get to a point where you can come together
And
if
have a
being together is what you want. But I'm gonna be honest with you. If I ain't married to you, I don't see me. I'm just saying, like me, we ain't married. Why? I don't know why I would go through that. But I know some women feel like they have to, because they don't know that they can do any better. They don't want to do any better. I love this man. He loves me. He's just jealous. His mom used to do things, or his dad. This is why they make excuses. But bottom line is, they both need counseling separately, two
separately.
different types of counselings for
But
them.
see, that's usually the manipulation that comes, because every man that's trying to get you back, the first thing that he's going to say is, hey, I'm going to counseling. We can go
Right.
to counseling together. We can work on this. That is the most manipulative line, because for me, if
Mm,
I was asked to give advice on that, let him go to counseling on his own. And if it's anything that's going to happen between you guys, when he's done with counseling, he's really saw it all the way through. And you can see some change in his behavior with other people. Because guess what? Most of the time, they're abusive to you, but you can tell by the way they talk to waiters
To
at
other people.
restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell by the way they handle situations with how they talk about somebody
It's
pissed them off at work. There, it's just more. It's those, and those are red flags. Look at the way somebody treats someone when you go out to eat with them. How if they talk down to people and things of that nature. Those are some of, to me, the biggest red flags on how you treat people, just in general.
it's kind of like, when you go to church, and you really become saved, your conversation changes.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of that way. If you go into counseling and it actually worked and you really have changed, your conversation changes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about what you're saying, what you're doing, how you're saying it changes
And then
completely.
you'll no longer hear, "I hit you because you made me."
Right,
Mm.
right,
It's because
right.
I hit you or I did these things to you because I wasn't sure of who I
I
was.
had a
I
problem.
wasn't,
Yeah,
I have a problem. It is me.
yes,
I'm my biggest problem. Not, it wouldn't be because you made me, because you can't make a person do anything, but
right.
that blaming and shaming are two things that victims go through on a constant basis.
What is that? Gaslighting.
Gaslighting,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Ooh,
So I want to make the connection before we get out of here between intimate partner violence or domestic violence and HIV. And the fact that this program is actually a result of us trying to make sure that people position themselves to remain HIV free. And if you are HIV positive and living with HIV, that you are able to thrive
right.
beyond HIV because it is simply a diagnosis. So I want to see if there's a way for us to kind of connect that in that what we've seen. I know at Selma Air, we've seen people who are in situations where
Right.
they feel like I'm not going to find it anywhere else.
Mhm,
I won't find love because of my diagnosis, right?
mhm.
So I want to inquire, Chanel, are there some special things that we need to do, or how can we, as people who could potentially be victimized because of whatever diagnosis, is there a connection, and how do we protect ourselves, or how do we help protect our friends who may be living with HIV?
I think when you look at HIV and any other um, situation that might cause a person self-esteem to be tarnished to an extent, is going to put them in a position to where they can definitely become a
Be
victim.
vulnerable. Right.
Because with low self-esteem, you are willing to accept a lot of things that you won't accept if you feel better about yourself. So I think it's important to teach self-help classes, to teach women's wellness as we're doing those type, and men, because we never want to ever get the premises that men are not victims, because they are.
Right.
And
You
so,
know,
it's
uh,
easier to say, I guess, some things like they will say with, but men are just as well as victims as we are. But to have self-esteem building classes, to have motivational people come in and talk, because sometimes it's nothing like seeing somebody that looks like you and going that been through the same thing that you've been through, and see how they made it,
how they thriving.
how they thrive. And so it's like,
Yep.
sometimes, for people that know me, I'm a very private person in a lot of things, but sometimes I'm sitting around, and I had the first thing when it happened to me at the when I was working at the shelter, and you'll meet a person, and you probably tell them a story that you've never told anybody else, because the spirit starts speaking to you, because that's what that person needed. And
Right.
so sometimes, like when with our sister, our wellness sisters, we'll get on the phone sometimes, and we'll start telling each other stuff. And it's nothing like be like, "Oh wow, you went through that," because
It's
on the
something about
outside we're
feeling like you're
prettied
not
up.
alone.
Yes.
Yes, we dolled up. We done everything we do to hide scars and to hide everything that we've been through. But it's nothing like seeing somebody so beautiful on the outside that has been broken and put back together on the inside, because they're telling you where they come from. They're
Right.
telling you what they've endured, and they have persevered, and they've made it. And guess what? It makes that person think, so can I. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just putting people with peer groups is so important. So
Right.
creating that wellness for women or wellness for men so that they can see people that have persevered through the storm. I survived. That's what people need to hear. Whatever I survived, because people survive things other than domestic violence. I survived HIV. I survived it. Whatever it is that person is going through, if they can mirror themselves to another person and see how that person literally made it over, their days that you can get a running start from somebody else's race.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think that that's what we have to do. We have to put people in a position to win by putting them in situations with people that are winning, you
Right.
know?
You
And
know, I say this every time I go speak. The half a battle of being diagnosed with anything, I don't, that's life threatening. It starts here.
in the mind.
And so I think us as women, us, a friend of mine, Freda Jones, we talk about it all the time. We have to build our sisters up. We have
Every day.
to, yeah, we have to build up our sisters
Mm-hmm.
so that we can build up their mindset.
Mhm.
Because the one thing that I know, like I said, your vantage point determines your viewpoint, and not everybody was raised,
That's right.
the same way. And so when we can build up our sisters into feeling like, you know, I love me,
Mhm.
and it doesn't matter who else do or don't. Because once you can be sure of that, you can walk with so much confidence. And that's when you can say no. You can be Monte.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Let me share
Mm-hmm.
this. This your
Right there.
last time. But you have to walk in assurance and know that. And some people have never seen that
Mhm.
in their growing up, in their adulthood. And so I just think that that's why these type things are so important. Freda
Yes.
has a
And
group of
necessary.
Lotus, yes, and it's to build women up. Now, guess what is sometimes disheartening? A lot of the women still want they still want the woe it's me. You know what I'm they still have that. And one of our biggest issues is how do we get them out of that? The woe it's me. Woe it's me, gimme, gimme, gimme. Because those women right there are the women who will end up probably with a man that's violent, that's all of those things because they just don't really love themselves and don't know how to go through with it, don't know what to do or how to do it. So I just think that it has to start there. We have to start that. We have to start encouraging our women, building them up, trying to keep them encouraged and to be self-sufficient and to
Absolutely.
speak up for yourself. When we teach our kids that, we teach them that at a young age, speak up for yourself in school. It's almost like we got to do that because there are women that don't know how. I saw a comment from a lady that I know, and she said that, she sometimes fear being in a relationship, Myra, being in a relationship because of her diagnosis. And her diagnosis, oh yeah, there it go. She said that is one of my biggest fears. Will I settle because my diagnosis and end up in another violent relationship and just stay, or just stay because it's familiar, or stay because I live with HIV and something is better than nothing. And the funny thing is, these are familiar thoughts that go back long before my diagnosis. Again, your vantage point determines your viewpoint. So,
That's
what
right.
I would say is, Myra was never taught that self love, and I won't say self respect, but I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but that's what it's about. And we have to learn how to do that. And when you walk in assurance, that don't mean you can't walk beside a man. But when he crossed the line, you can be Monte like, hey, we're not doing that.
And I think the other thing too, just from personal experience and a moment of being candid, I recently had to share with a gentleman that I've been dating for a while. Like, listen, because he's like, "Well, you're changing. You keep raising, you keep moving the bar," and I'm like, "Listen,
We
I'm
still
not moving.
living.
Wait a minute. Hello,
What are you
I'm not
saying?
moving the bar, but the person you met was a high functioning depressed version of me. So
Right.
now that I have, transitioned, now that I have recovered, if you will, now you're going to experience something a little different. Now I'm the same person, right?
Right.
Because there's certain things that I'm just not gonna do,
Right.
but there are also more things that I'm not gonna tolerate because
Right.
now, like you said, that assurance that I walk in, nah, bro, I don't do that.
Right. Yeah. But
Right?
guess what? The bar is never gonna, you're never gonna reach it, not complete it, because you're gonna forever move it. Because guess what? Times change.
Every
You
day we're
ain't gonna
supposed
be
to
doing the
grow.
same at 20, what you would did at 20, at 50, what you were doing at 25. Or at least I
Yes.
hope not.
Right.
I hope you don't expect the same thing. Let me say this right here. Like me, I could take myself to Longhorn Red Lobster and not Captain D, Longhorn Red Lobster and Outback.
Yes.
That ain't where I want my dude to take me on a first date.
Right.
You want to go to
No,
Fungo
baby.
Day Chow?
Go to Chow, baby. That's where we going. Capitol Grill. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? We going out. We
So,
going out.
Right.
Yeah, no.
so check
Sorry.
this. Um, we've at the 8 o'clock mark.
Yes.
But I do want um,
Chanel.
I'm trying to think of her name.
Chanel.
Chanel. I want Chanel to give information on. First of all, I say that gonna set in my spirit, Lydia and Kim, um, to come back and do a part 2 of this on next Tuesday, because I
Okay.
feel like there's somebody that's going to be on there who needs to hear this information. So Chanel, I'm putting you on the spot in front of the people that's on here to see if you could come back with us on next Tuesday so we can have a part 2 of this conversation.
You
You
muted.
unmuted. Let me
The devil trying to block that, unmute that thing.
listen. You
Quit
hear
playing, girl. Quit playing. Why you acting? Not acting, but why you acting?
Next Tuesday at 6 will be bad, but next Tuesday at 7 would work.
Okay, we can do 7. Kim, can you do
Okay.
7? I know it's 8 o'clock for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I feel like there's so much more dialogue that we can have
It is.
surrounding this topic. And for those that were known in the beginning, I asked Chanel to tell us what domestic violence was in a whole, because mentally, or if you don't really know, you think that domestic violence was just a physical thing, but it's also psychological, emotional. I just looking at some stuff: financial and economic, physical and sexual, and it
me?
also includes stalking. And so some of us have also experienced all of those aspects and probably don't even know that that's domestic abuse. And so I
Right.
just want to bring Chanel back. At 7 o'clock tomorrow, we're gonna put out another flyer. And we're gonna keep it purple because purple is the color for the representative
Yes.
color of
Right.
domestic violence.
Right.
And so we'll have another date on there on next week, 7 o'clock. Those of you that are here, come back and invite somebody. And I
So
want to say this: I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but if y'all, the person that invites the most people on next week, I will send you one of my signature brims for free, custom
I
brims
want
for
it.
free. Those of you that cancel that you want it, invite the most people next week. I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet, but I'm gonna figure out a way. Lydia, help me.
Yes.
You would receive a free custom brim from me. So, Chanel, if you can just tell us where we can go, a number we can call to report domestic violence, someone who may be experiencing domestic abuse,
Yes.
where they can
Look,
call, where they can go.
and she's probably about to give one in Alabama. So Monte, you and I got homework to do to find us a number in Georgia.
It's the National Domestic Violence
Okay, so
Hotline.
it's national.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
it's 1-888. I got it written down.
And Lydia's gonna put that in the comments also,
Yes.
you all.
Yeah, I'll put it in the comments. I'll send it to Lydia and we'll put it out there. I got to go on to another Zoom.
Okay.
And I'll see y'all on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Chanel. I really
Bye-bye.
enjoyed this conversation.
Smooches.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was
So,
great.
yeah. So everybody, thank y'all for tuning in. We're gonna go debrief and see how we're gonna do this thing on next week. And
And do us a favor. Do us this favor right here. Since we're coming back next week, DM either one of us if you have some questions or something that
Yes.
you want answered for
Yes.
next week. If it's something that you want answered, a question you want answered for next week, then DM myself, Kim Moon, Monte. What are you on Facebook?
Monte Whitney Fan Hammond.
And then you are just Lydia Chapman.
Lydia Chapman. Yep.
And I guess they could do Selma Air. You do that? Or, yeah.
Yes.
Or Selma Air. Just DM us your questions so that we can make sure that everything is covered and answered, because we want nobody to walk away with their questions unanswered, because most people, a lot of people that I know, suffer in silence as it pertains to
Yes.
violence.
Myra, you said you posted a question. If you don't mind DMing whoever invited you, well, whoever you know on this live, DM that question to us. We won't have to try to scroll back through the comments to find it, so that we can make sure we get it answered on next week.
Yes.
Right.
And so again,
so that meant, Myra, you got to be on here next week.
Exactly, to get your answer.
Yes.
We want to thank y'all for tuning in with this video. Go ahead and close it out.
I know you look. Hey, listen, it has been an hour well spent. We want to thank each and every one of you all for tuning in, y'all. This is a heavy topic, but we're here to share the load. We want to take the weight off of you. We want to give you a way out. We're sharing information, connecting the intersectionality of intimate partner violence and HIV. Y'all, we are going to fix this thing. We're going to fix this community together. So we will see you back here for part 2 of this conversation, 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8:00 p.m. Eastern, right here. Same login. We will see you next week. Thank you. Don't forget to message us. Yes.
Oh, don't forget to invite people so you can get Monte's free
yes.
What you call it?
The brim. Custom brim.
I love it.
Yeah.
They so cute. I seen them.
Thank you, Kim.
See y'all next week.
Yeah.